Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving into the AI state of play for 2025. For years, AI in drug discovery felt like it was kind of stuck in pilot purgatory. Tons of promise, but not a lot of real results. Well, that's over. We've officially hit a watershed moment where AI has gone from a speculative tool to the absolute core engine of R&D. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how we got here and where it's all headed, from the code on the screen all the way to the clinic.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll get a handle on the massive productivity shift that's happening right now. Then, we'll pop the hood on the AI Scientist Toolkit and check out the revolutionary new instruments inside. From there, we'll look at how these tools are being rolled out at factory scale. That leads us to the most important part, the clinical proof that this stuff actually works. And finally, we'll look over the horizon at what's coming next, autonomous agents, and the new gold rush for data.
All right, let's just start with the number that is changing absolutely everything. 80 to 90%. Get this, that is the new success rate for AI-discovered molecules in Phase 1 clinical trials. Just to put that in perspective, the historical industry average has been stuck somewhere between 40 and 65%. We are talking about basically doubling R&D productivity right out of the gate.
And what that number really means is this. We are finally starting to reverse Eroom's law. That's Moore's law spelled backward, right? For decades, no matter what incredible scientific advances we made, bringing a drug to market just kept getting slower and more expensive. This new level of success is fundamentally challenging that entire trend.
So you might be asking, how is this even possible? Well, it's happening because the tools themselves have undergone a complete revolution. Which brings us to our first section, the AI Scientist Toolkit. Let's look at how we've leaped from just predicting structure to actually enabling scientific reasoning.
What's so fascinating here is the massive strategic pivot this shows, especially from a giant like Google. The old paradigm, the one dominated by AlphaFold, was all about structure prediction. It was incredible for sure, but ultimately a static task. The new paradigm is all about the AI co-scientist, and that's all about scientific reasoning. We're talking about an AI that can generate, debate, and even evolve brand new scientific ideas on its own. It's a huge shift from AI as a tool to AI as a collaborator.
A really critical part of this evolution is something called co-folding. See, it's not enough to know a protein's shape. You have to know how it docks with a potential drug. And for a long time, figuring that out was the secret sauce of just a few proprietary models. The big story of 2025, though, is that this power has been totally democratized. It's now in the hands of the entire research community.
And this is a perfect example. Boltz-2, an amazing open-source model from MIT and Recursion, isn't just predicting the shape of that dock, it's predicting the binding affinity, how tightly the drug will actually grab on. And it does this 1,000 times faster than the old-school physics simulations, running in seconds on a single GPU. Oh, and its generative version, Boltz-Gen, can even design totally new proteins from scratch. It's just a massive breakthrough.
Now, building on that open-source momentum, you have OpenFold3. And honestly, its importance cannot be overstated. Because while Boltz-2 is tackling binding affinity, OpenFold3 gives everyone a commercially usable alternative to DeepMind's flagship model. What that means is any company can now take this incredible architecture and fine-tune it on their own private data, say their screening data, to build a specialized model just for their targets. This is what unlocks a real competitive advantage.
So with these super powerful new tools available, the whole focus is shifted. And that brings us to our next section, industrializing discovery at scale. This isn't about little pilot projects anymore. Big Pharma is now building what you can only really describe as AI factories to industrialize the entire discovery process.
I mean, just look at Pfizer's new Lightspeed workflow. They basically integrate all their data, then use AI for massive virtual screening to analyze and pick the best possible candidates before they even step into a wet lab. And the result? A discovery timeline that used to take years is now squashed down to around 30 days. That is a mind-blowing acceleration.
But look, it's not just about the science, it's also about the economics. A huge force shaping where all this AI power is being aimed is the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act, specifically something that's being called the pill penalty. Basically, it creates a much shorter 9-year window for price negotiations on small molecules compared to 13 years for biologics.
And the impact of that 4-year difference, it's pretty stark. We've seen a 70% drop in early-stage funding for small molecule projects. Investors and pharma companies are rational, right? So they're shifting their money and their AI strategies over to biologics, where they have a longer period of exclusivity.
So this economic pressure is forcing a strategic response, and the key thing to see here is that every major player is developing its own unique AI playbook. Eli Lilly is going for pure computational dominance. GSK is doubling down on its genetics-first approach. Sanofi is pioneering these agentic workflows, using AI to automate really complex tasks. And Roche is perfecting the lab-in-a-loop model, powered by huge patient data deals. Each one is building its own distinct advantage. Now, all of this is fascinating. The tools, the scale, the strategy, but it's all just theory without one thing: clinical proof. And that brings us to our third and honestly most critical section, from code to clinic. We finally have the proof. This is the moment the entire field has been waiting for, the undeniable evidence that these computational models actually translate into real results for patients.
And a lot of people in the field are calling this the Penicillin Moment for AI drug discovery. I know it's a bold claim, but it really captures the importance of this shift from a promising piece of tech to a validated, life-changing way to create medicines.
And here it is. Here's the data. Insilico Medicine's drug for idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. What makes this such a landmark is that it's the first drug to show robust clinical success that was entirely AI native. The target was found by AI, and the molecule was designed by AI. And in the Phase 2a trial, it showed a clear dose-dependent improvement in lung function. Patients on the highest dose gained nearly 100 milliliters of lung capacity compared to placebo. This is it. This is the proof.
And with that proof in hand, the venture capital is just pouring in and the ambition has scaled up dramatically. We're now seeing this new wave of startups like Exira and Lila with just massive funding. Their goal isn't just to find the next drug, but to build what they're calling scientific superintelligence, fully autonomous labs where AI agents can design, run, and interpret experiments all by themselves.
Which brings us to our final section, the future. If you really boil all these trends down, the next 5 years are going to be defined by two incredibly powerful forces: the rise of autonomous agents and the strategic war over proprietary data.
This is what we mean by the agentic shift. We're moving away from AI that just passively predicts something for you to an AI that can act as an autonomous agent. We're talking about AI that can reason through a problem, design a multi-step experimental plan, and then go and execute it, whether that's physically controlling lab robots or drafting complex regulatory documents to send to the FDA.
And so that leaves us with this final, really crucial question. As these powerful open-source models like Boltz-2 and OpenFold3 make the core algorithms available to pretty much everyone, the competitive advantage completely shifts. Is high-quality, proprietary biological data now the only truly defensible moat in drug discovery? That right there is the strategic challenge that's going to decide the winners and losers in the years ahead.